All right, welcome back. And now let's do an example here of using the leading term test to determine the behavior, the end behavior for the graphs of these two polynomial functions. So now if we look at A, we have f of x is equal to negative 4x to the fifth plus 6x to the fourth plus 2x. Okay, so the thing is we're going to ignore everything except the leading term. In this case, negative 4x to the fifth. Now 1 is n here is 5. It's odd, right? And that means what? The leading term test that says that if the degree is odd, then the end tails go in opposite directions. Now, here's the thing. I gave you two options, right? So either it behaves like this, right? As we move left to right, or it behaves like this, which means, let's see over here, it could be doing something like this, whatever, or it could be, oops, hold on a second. Oh, sorry, I wrote this wrong. This should be like this. That's what I meant. And so this could be doing something like that. Okay? So what does this mean here? This means as I go left to right, it has a general upward direction, right? It's heading in an upward trend as we move left to right. This one has a general downward trend as you move left to right. So now that's the key understanding that you want to think about, okay? Because how do we know which one it is? Is it this one or this one? And that's where the leading coefficient comes in. Is the leading coefficient negative or positive? If the leading coefficient is positive with the degree is odd, it's going to have this trend. It's going to be opposite directions, so we know that it's odd, so it has opposite directions. The tail's going opposite directions, but because this is negative, oh, I'm sorry. I chose the wrong one. Oh, no, I was right. I'm getting ahead of myself. So since if it's positive, if the leading coefficient is positive and the degree is odd, it's going to have a general upward trend from left to right. Right? So tail's going opposite directions, but a general upward trend. If the leading coefficient is negative and the degree is odd, then we know, of course, the tail's going opposite directions, but the negative coefficient, the negative leading coefficient tells us that it has a general downward trend. So it'll be this one. So now, going back to this example here, the leading coefficient is negative, so we know it's going to have the end behavior of this, not this. All right, cool. Now, what about B? Well, look at this one. This is factored, so it's in factored form. But again, think about this. All we care about is the degree and the sign, the degree and the sign of the leading term. Okay? So we want the degree of the leading term and the sign of the leading coefficient. So all we have to do is understand that this is factors. These are factors. So we're multiplying these. So all we care about is what's the largest power of x here. It's going to be 2. What's the largest power of x that's going to result from this binomial? Raised to the third power. It's going to be x to the third. And obviously this is x to the first power. So if I take x squared times x to the third times x, what am I going to get? I'm going to get 2 plus 3 plus 1, which is x to the 6th. So I know my leading term is going to have a degree 6. So this is going to be a degree 6 polynomial. Okay, now, what about the leading coefficient? Is it going to be positive or negative? Well, we can easily see that all of the coefficients here are going to be positive. Right? Because this is ultimately going to be 8 x cubed. This is going to be x squared. This is just x. So we're going to ultimately end it with a positive leading coefficient. So guess what? Now we are dealing with even, right? So that means either it's going to look something like this for the end behavior, or it's going to look something like that. Because remember, if the degree is even, the tails or end behavior of the graph go in the same direction. So it's either going to look something like this or this. Now, this is where, again, the sign of the leading coefficient comes in. If it's positive, it's going to look like this. If it's negative, it's going to look like this. So in other words, since this is positive, we know the end behavior is going to look like this. And that's it. That's how you use the leading term test. Have a great day.